The title of our study is Learning Modalities in Pre-Service English Teachers Preparedness for Distance Teaching Practicum in Mindoro State University of AY 2021-2022. Chapter 1, The Problem and Its Background. Pre-service teachers are the students who introduce to practices or roles where they are being trained in the field of teaching with mentors and professionals that will guide them. According to Virginia Wesleyan University, pre-service teaching is a period of guided supervised teaching. The college student is gradually introduced into the teaching role for a particular class by a mentor or cooperating teacher. The goal of practice teaching practicum is to develop the future teachers in the field of teaching. They can also receive evaluations and feedback from their faculty and supervisors. Due to unavailability to enter the classroom and facilitate instruction, the researcher identified areas for further research because of the change from a typical classroom to a distance learning style. It is critical to research pre-service teacher clinical practice during the new coronavirus pandemic. The researchers examined the preparedness of student teachers in learning more about pre-service teachers' preparation to transition to in-service teaching. The COVID-19 pandemic was recognized owing to distant learning, which allowed students to continue their education at their own pace. The purpose of the study in teaching practicum is to offer students with classroom teaching experience, faculty supervisors who are in charge of the courses in which the practicum takes place provide instruction and feedback to the students. The aim of the teaching practicum is to give student teachers with virtual teaching experience. This is necessary for them to improve their teaching abilities and begin gathering experiences to broaden their professional knowledge. Statement of the problem. The study will focus on determining the pre-service English teachers' preparedness for distance teaching practicum and their learning modalities. Thus, it aims to answer the following questions. First, what is the extent of exposure to the different learning modalities of the pre-service English teachers in terms of blended learning, online learning, and modular printed learning? Second, what is the level of preparedness of the pre-service English teachers in terms of technological and pedagogical knowledge, and assessing students' performance? Last, is there significant relationship between the extent of exposure to different learning modalities and level of preparedness among pre-service English teachers? Statement of the hypothesis. There is no significant relationship between learning modalities and pre-service English teachers' preparedness for distance learning.
Theoretical framework. This study is anchored on three different theories. This includes transformative learning theory, practical theory, and experiential learning theory. In Jacques Mezirow 1991 Transformative Learning Theory, it investigates the pedagogical and andragogical orientation prepared by pre-service teachers for distance learning. Furthermore, this theory asserts that how teachers interpret and reinterpret their sense experiences is essential to making meaning and thus learning. It is also the perception that teachers benefit from the use of online web-based learning that provides opportunity for distance practicum and access to a vast amount of knowledge and information that support their preparedness in teaching, according to Tasir et al. 2008. On the other hand, experiential learning theory is a process of acquiring knowledge through experience. This theory proposed by David Kolb basically composed of four cycles, namely concrete learning, reflective observation, abstract conceptualization, and active experimentation. This theory connotes that the capacity to remember the knowledge that have been taught is not enough, so learners should also learn how to acknowledge and apply the knowledge through experience to generate a better learning, according to Kurt 2020. This theory is deemed important on this study as it helped the researchers to have enough understanding on how to examine the readiness of pre-service English teachers in terms of their capacity to simulate the teaching process and their skills in technological and pedagogical content knowledge. Lastly, practical theory of teaching is the foundation of teaching practice that evaluates the teaching process, the effectiveness of teachers' instruction, or the use of pedagogies that connects the curriculum and assessing student performance. This theory outlines the knowledge and skills of pre-service teachers in teaching. according to Mukieredzki and Nyachowe 2018. This theory will prove significant in the study because in practical theory of teaching, it presents and analyzes the pedagogical approach and use of educators in teaching. This theory is deemed important on this study as the researchers will evaluate the level of preparedness of English pre-service teacher on distance learning and their preparedness in using learning modalities. Conceptual framework. In the conceptual framework of this study, the researchers use the IPO model or the input, process, and output model. The input consists the questions that the researchers want to solve upon proposing this study. The following questions are: first, what is the extent of exposure to the different learning modalities of pre-service English teachers in terms of blended learning, online learning, and modular printed learning? Second, to what extent is the preparedness of practice teachers in terms of technological and pedagogical content knowledge, pedagogical knowledge, and assessing student performance? And lastly, the researchers want to know if there is significant relationship between learning modalities and pre-service English teachers' preparedness for distance learning. The process consists of the following methods that the researchers will use to solve the issue in the study. It includes the target respondents or the participants of the study, research methodology, survey questionnaire, interpretation of data, conclusion, and recommendation. And upon analyzing and evaluating the gathered data, the researchers will come up on having a proposal about intervention plan for pre-service English teachers of Mindoro State University as an output of this study.
Distance learning in teacher education programs is not only a cornerstone of completely online system, but it is also a viable alternative way of delivering pre-service teacher education in its own right in portions of blended learning, online learning, and modular printed learning. For example, teacher education programs differ from other type of professional education programs in that they include field experience as part of their curriculum. When developing a training program, these elements must be carefully considered. One option to gain field experience is to combine virtual classroom learning with online comments and discussions with professors and peers. In a mixed pre-service teacher education program, technology must be integrated with strategy and aim. Students must understand how and why technology is utilized in their classes, as well as the fact that utilizing it for the sake of using it is neither productive nor advantageous in the long run. Pre-service instructors must be made aware that the online system of their school may need a significant amount of time and commitment on their behalf. Technology must be present in teachers' classroom. It does not imply that completing a partially online degree will take less time or effort. Teachers who prioritize a learner-centered approach in the classroom, according to the research, may adopt a similar approach to blended learning. Pre-service instructors should be taught to embrace a learner-centered approach to remote learning rather than focusing on the technicalities and practicalities. Research methodology. This chapter presents the research design, research locale, respondents of the study, the research instrument, the data gathering procedure, and the scaling and the quantification of data and statistical treatment. Research design. This study uses descriptive correlation methods of research. Research locale. This study was conducted at Mindoro State University. The fourth-year BS Ed English students who's having their pre-service clinical practice were used as the respondents of the study. This study has examined the learning modalities and pre-service English teachers' preparedness for distance learning. The research was implemented to determine the readiness of pre-service English teachers in teaching through distance learning. The respondents of the study will be the BS Ed English 4th-year students of Mindoro State University. According to the result, in the population of 132 4th-year students, 99 pre-service English teachers will be the respondents and will give relevant data in the study. Sampling technique. Researchers use simple random sampling method. Simple random sampling method enables the researchers to select the respondents randomly from the population. This method gives the population an equal chance to be chosen as the respondents. Scaling and quantification of data. The researchers used the Likert scale as a type of rating scale to measure the attitude and the readiness of the respondents about the topic of the study. In this part, you can see the numerical scale, the range, the verbal description, and the verbal interpretation. The highest scale means that the respondents are strongly agree, and it was interpreted as very satisfied. On the other hand, the lowest numerical scale means that the respondents are strongly disagree, and it was interpreted as very dissatisfied. Validation of the instrument. Upon the approval of the instrument, the researchers will now proceed to the data gathering, which they will distribute the online questionnaire to the randomly selected respondents of BS Ed 4th-year pre-service English teachers of Mindoro State University. Data gathering procedures. The researcher will use a self-made online questionnaire which comprise of two parts focusing on the exposure of the different learning modalities of pre-service English teachers and the level of preparedness of the pre-service English teachers in terms of technological and pedagogical content knowledge, pedagogical knowledge, and lastly, assessing students' performance. Statistical treatment of data. Descriptive statistic will be employed in this study. In particular, descriptive statistics such as rank and average or mean were utilized to determine the level of preparedness of practice teachers in terms of blended learning, online learning, and modular printed learning. And in the same way, to determine the problems and difficulties encountered by the practice teachers' preparedness for distance teaching practicum. Spearman correlation will also be used in determining the significant relationship between learning modalities and pre-service English teachers' preparedness for distance learning.